Hi everyone, welcome to the Indy Center YouTube channel. My name is Cole. I'm the current training administrator here at CID. In this video, I want to discuss the Automated Information Transfer, also known as AIT, what it is, when it's used, and the specific procedures and phraseology associated with it. Thanks for joining us, and we'll get right into it. AIT is governed by the FAA Order 71-1065, specifically in Chapter 5, Section 4. This section allows controllers to transfer the control of an aircraft without direct verbal coordination. It is used for pre-coordinated handoffs between sectors or facilities where verbal coordination would be redundant or otherwise disrupt the workflow. AIT is common in high traffic areas where maintaining efficiency is crucial. AIT can only be used in sectors or facilities that have AIT established in specific pre-existing agreements. These agreements will specify how AIT is used, when it is used, and the procedures within. Simply put, AIT is used in similar situations whereas a point-out would also be used. Some typical scenarios where AIT is applied includes aircraft that will transition from one sector to another very briefly, and also handoffs between en route centers and approach control centers that will descend through adjacent terminal airspace. There are a couple different scenarios where AIT is used at CID. One of those examples is called a flash through. A flash through is when controller A initiates a handoff to controller B, who accepts and may or may not immediately initiate a handoff to controller C. If controller B does not need to speak with an aircraft, they should immediately hand off to controller C, and then when controller C accepts the handoff, controller A may transfer the aircraft directly to controller C verbally. If controller B retains the track for more than a few seconds without initiating handoff to controller C, controller A should hand off the aircraft to controller B like a normal handoff. This specific example we'll look at it in a little bit more detail when we discuss procedures for aircraft exiting ZID that are landing at Chicago Midway. Another type of AIT that's used is called an altitude release. An altitude release is when controller A initiates a handoff to controller B. Controller B then accepts, and it may or may not enter a new altitude assignment into the data block of that aircraft. Controller A may then choose to assign the observed new altitude to the aircraft prior to switching them to controller B. Another form of automated information transfer exists in the form of a passback. A passback is used within facilities at CID to provide automated information transfer to facilities that exist in close proximity to one another. For example, an aircraft that's cleared on the Seagram arrival into Cincinnati will first be issued a handoff to Indianapolis TRACON, which will then transfer the aircraft back to ZID. This is an example that we'll look at in more detail here in a few moments. Before we look at some examples, it's really important to know some key requirements for AIT use. Number one is there must be a pre-coordinated agreement. AIT can only occur if there's a documented agreement outlining the specific conditions in which an aircraft can be transferred automatically. This will typically exist in the form of an SOP or an LOA. Number two, the transferring controller must ensure that the aircraft meets all separation requirements and adheres to all agreement parameters before initiating AIT. In this example, we're working Indianapolis, Shelbyville sector, which covers Area 4. We're bordered to the north with Chicago Center. Chicago Center has two controllers online. They have the Fort Wayne sector online and the Bears sector online. Fort Wayne covers Chicago airspace above flight level 240. Bears sector covers Chicago airspace below flight level 230, so they're in a high-low split. Southwest 3478 is inbound to Chicago Midway. We've received the handoff from Area 7 descending to flight level 280. Looking at the SOP, Southwest 3478 will need to cross the ZID-ZAU boundary at or below flight level 240. In accordance with the LOA, we need to accomplish AIT procedures with ZAU when we transfer them to Chicago. To do that, we will first initiate the handoff to the high sector, which is Fort Wayne, G36. After G36 accepts the handoff, if there's no conflict, they will hand the aircraft off to G35, which is the bear sector. Once we see that that procedure has been accomplished, we will hand off Southwest 3478 to the low sector, even though they will be in the high sector for altitude. This will make more sense as we do it. At this point, we'll descend Southwest 3478 down to flight level 240. Now we'll accomplish the AIT procedure. So this involves handing Southwest 3478 off to the high sector, which is G36. Once that is accepted, we'll look for G36 to hand off to the low sector, which is bear, which we can see that's done now. And now Southwest 3478 is being tracked by the bear sector, G35 in the data tag. We can verify that by pulling up the information that is indeed owned by G35, which is bear is the low sector. And now we can switch Southwest 3478 off to the low sector. Southwest 3478, contact Chicago Center 134.87. In this example, we're again in Area 4 at ZID working the Shelbyville sector. And in this example, we're going to look at an aircraft descending on the Seagram arrival and how we do a pass-back procedure with the Indianapolis approach control. Here we have received the handoff for Connie 643. Connie 643 is landing in Cincinnati. If we pull up their information, we can see they're a heavy 777, landing in Cincinnati on the Seagram 6 arrival. Per the LOA, ZAU will issue flight level 230, and normally they'll do that at the Macy's intersection here. Per the SOP, we're allowed to issue a descend via prior to initiating the AIT procedure. So we'll go ahead and give the descend via. Connie 643, descend via the Seagram 6 arrival, landing south, Cincinnati altimeter 298. Now that the aircraft's been cleared to descend via, we'll conduct the AIT procedure. First, we'll initiate a handoff to Indianapolis approach. Indianapolis approach has accepted the handoff. If there is no traffic or other coordination that needs to be done, they'll hand the aircraft back off to us, which now the aircraft is back in handoff to I-34. We'll accept, and the AIT procedure has been done. Connie 643 has started their descent on the arrival. There is no more coordination that we need to do with Indianapolis. AIT accomplishes all that through the passback procedure. Now that they're descending on the arrival, we can initiate the handoff to Cincinnati approach. Cincinnati's accepted the handoff, and we can say Connie 643, connect Cincinnati approach 126.65. And the procedure is complete. I hope this has been an informative video on the automated information transfer. Note that these two examples are not the only examples of AIT at ZID. The entire list can be found in the Indianapolis SOP. If you have any questions on this specific procedure, please reach out to one of the training staff members. Thanks for watching and happy controlling.